May 1961. Thank you for your sweet letter. My foot is much better.
Oh yeah, she dropped hot plate or something on her foot. It was in the papers. That's how I knew.
And there were no fractures, I'm glad to say. My holiday in Tobago was indeed most enjoyable, and I cannot tell you how lovely it was. I'm delighted to know you have enjoyed my performances in Jewel of Angels, and regret you shall not be able to see the Lady of the Camellias.
Yeah.
But perhaps you will see it in the future if these plays are presented in London. If you will let me know which day next week it may be convenient for you to be at Finsbury Park.
That was when we saw the rehearsal.
I will be delighted to see you for a moment before rehearsal, which begins at 10:30 in the morning.
We saw her come over the moment.
Yours sincerely, Vivien. I do indeed.
She was very fond of indeed. She said a lot. And she's underlined indeed, hasn't she? I do indeed love seeing all of you. I think she hadn't yet asked Robert Helpman. I reckon that's why she wouldn't commit herself. When we got there, she said, would you like to... We had a few words, then she said, would you like to come in and watch rehearsal? I reckon she okayed it with him because he was directing, you see. But I thought it was funny, you see, that she said, let me know which day you're coming. She never did that. In fact, we never asked her. We just popped round, you know.
Right.
But I think, I may be quite wrong, but I suspect that she had it in mind to ask us in, but hadn't had a chance to check it off with him.
I remember you mentioned that before you went to the rehearsal,
Yeah.
you wanted to get her something, a souvenir.
Oh, we did. We got that little fluffy thing.
Fluffy thing.
And
yes.
that's, we put our names all, gave it a name. There was a craze just around then, it wouldn't happen now of course,
Yes.
but there was a craze about then for making these little things of mink, and some of them were shapes, animals or something, but this one wasn't actually, it was just a little fluffy, but they were all on pins, they were brooch. They also did it on belts, they did belts with a little bit of this on them, you know.
Yes.
It was just a craze, and we thought she might like that, you know, because we knew she had a mink coat.
Yeah.
And we got this little thing, this little brooch, and as a good luck token to take. We said we must get something small, so we got this, and then we said, oh well, let's give it a name. And we tried to put our initials of our first name.
Right.
We couldn't make anything.
Yeah.
So then we went to our surnames, and all we could come up with was Sham.
Sham.
So we can't call it Sham. So we stuck P-O-G-O-O on there and made it Shampoo. And when we gave it to her, we said, oh, it's Shampoo, because that's our initials, and Poo, we had to put the other bit on to make it. So she said, oh, my Siamese cat is called Pooh Jones. So she was very into little things. I always thought for someone so sophisticated and worldly, she was quite childlike in a way. It's like if you gave her something, I mean, she didn't want anything really, did she? She didn't need anything. But she was quite, you know, also thrilled if you gave her something, and I don't think it was put on.
Yes.
Although she is an actress, I usually know if it's on a personal level. I usually know if people are acting. She liked the thought that people wanted to give her something. Then went up and did the rehearsal, and she was doing the scene with John Merivale. And she came and talked to us after it was finished, and he was trailing along with her. So she then introduced us to him, and we didn't talk to him much. So we didn't talk to him at all. But she turned round to him. She pinned this onto her cardigan, you see.
Yes.
He gave it to her. She said, "Oh, look, have you seen my lovely little brooch that the girls gave me?" Oh, that's what it is it? He said, I noticed it when we were up there on the stage. He said, I thought it was an insect that I was going to brush it off, he said.
Wanted to brush it off.
He didn't for some reason.
Didn't,
He wouldn't have got it off because it was pinned on. Oh, that's what it is, he said. And we thought it was just going to be a quick little chat outside the door. But then we just started talking, and then she said, would you like to come in and watch the rehearsal? A couple of scenes.
Of like 15-20 minutes?
Yes, it wasn't all that long. I just think it was about half an hour. And then she came and had this little chat with us before we all went out again. Letters that she wrote afterwards, because we wrote and thanked her for asking us in. And she said, I've been glad you enjoyed watching the rehearsal. I only wish you could have seen the costumes. I was very disappointed because they were thinking of doing it, a production, when they got back here.
Yes.
And I love Camille, and I really wanted to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they were planning to do it, but what happened, this chap from America, I've forgotten his name, who was going to put on this production of the music, Sparich.
Yes.
He then went to see her, or I think he contacted her by phone, but then he went to see her, asked her to do this musical. And she said no to begin with. Never done a musical.
No, of course.
As you know, she couldn't sing for toffee nuts.
Yeah,
But it didn't matter because she talked it through beautifully.
Exactly.
The same way that
Harrison
did it in
My Fair Lady.
the
My
show
Fair
he
Lady.
did. He
Yeah.
couldn't sing either.
Yeah.
But it's very effective if they do it well. Of course, she did it beautifully. And he kept on. He was determined to get her in it. So that, you see, she didn't come home with the rest of the company.
No.
And when she did come home, she only came in home very briefly.
Yes.
Especially as we didn't see it.
Right.
But on the other hand, it was a good thing for her. She
Yes.
succeeded in
Yes.
it. And I think she quite enjoyed it, except that she did get ill in the middle of it.